Each of you, and especially you. I am Ebony Terrell Shockley, Director of the Master Certification Program, and I will serve as the hostess of this 2018 Master Certification Summer Celebration. Our program will commence with greetings from our Assistant Dean and Executive Director of Teacher Education of the College of Education, Dr. Kathy Angeletti.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the Dean and the rest of the faculty in the College of Education, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to each and every one of you and your families as well. I'm sure there were several times over the course of the past year when you wondered if the year would ever come to an end. Conversely, I'm sure there also were several times when you lamented how quickly the year passed. Probably most notably when it was time to say goodbye to all the children and youngsters that you work with and spent a good bit of your life with over the past year. I'm sure they undoubtedly captured your heart. In this profession, it really is all about the students in the P-12 classroom. And that's one of the key things that I hope you will always remember and keep foremost in your mind as you embark on your first year of teaching. Being a good teacher always begins with knowing who your students are. Their interests, their talents, their needs, and so forth. Every child has assets to be tapped. A great teacher sees those possibilities and uncovers those hidden treasures and is very deliberate about doing so. In some cases, you'll find this process is relatively easy to do. In other instances, it may be a bit more challenging. But the key is demonstrating to your students that you care about them. A superintendent from a large public school district in Indianapolis stated it best. He said, "Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Once they know that, they will be willing to do anything for you, regardless of how tough or rigorous you are." Indeed, when you care for a student, they know it. Conversely, when you're trying to fake it, they'll catch on to that as well. Children and adolescents are very perceptive in this regard. Which brings me to the importance of teachers being passionate about their work and loving what they do. At one of our commencement ceremonies in the past, we had a commencement speaker who actually talked about the importance of being passionate about your life's work. And I still recall his message and think about it often because I think it's a really important one. He said, "Be passionate about what you do, or don't do it at all." Great teachers have a passion for learning and for the particular subject area they teach. They look forward to coming to school every day. They love their work, and very importantly, they like kids. Great teachers create great relationships with their students. They are firm but fair, and they have a knack for creating a safe culture in the classroom where students are safe to risk learning. The school community that they've created is a place that is student-focused, where everyone is heard and knows they belong. Great teachers are also highly conscious of their practice. They realize that what they say and do, it matters in the lives of the children that they teach. They reflect often and consider how they can make their instruction better for the whole classroom and how they can particularly reach that one challenging, puzzling student. And I know it's probably still too close to having done it for you to fully appreciate it yet, but the work you did on EdTPA does emphasize the ability to engage in this type of deep reflective work that's so critical for highly accomplished teaching practice. Great teachers also find a way to stay positive even under the most difficult of circumstances. Maintaining a positive, upbeat attitude and looking on the bright side when it's tough can have such a tremendous positive impact on the students and everyone in that learning setting. Which brings me finally to impact. In many cases, besides the student's own family, the teacher ends up being one of the most influential persons in the lives of these young students. Don't ever underestimate the impact your words have, that your actions have on the lives of the children that you're working with. And speaking personally, in just over a month, I'm going to have my third grandchild. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited. And being a grandmother is awesome. They say, you know, it's great because you can turn them back. I don't ever want to give them back. I love spending time with them. I can't get enough of them. But in any event, these little ones are really what the future's all about, and I can't help but wonder as an educator what their teachers are going to be like and what their classroom settings are going to be like. I want them to be with the very best teachers with all those traits I've just discussed. And that's where I want to wrap up my remarks to you. I know the programs you just completed, and I know how well prepared you are to enter the classroom. Go out there and be a caring, compassionate, competent teacher. One who above all stays student-centered in your approach. Grandmothers like me will appreciate it, and the kids that you work with will be better for it. I can only hope that when Alexandra, Nolan, and the new one, who's I just found out is going to be Maddie Grace, when they're ready to begin school, I'm hoping that they're lucky enough to end up in a classroom with a teacher like you all. That would really be awesome, and I want to congratulate you once again and wish you all the best.
Thank you, Dr. Angeletti, for your warm welcome. We also have inspiring words coming from the chairperson of our department, which is Teaching and Learning, Policy and Leadership, Dr. Francine Holtgren. And she writes, "Dear MCERT graduates, I regret that I cannot be there with you this evening to celebrate your graduation. My usual message is to read a poem that connects, that's why they're giggling, that connects to teaching and teachers. So instead of reading it to you in person, I am sending this one to be read to you by Dr. Shockley. As you hopefully will all soon be signing that first teaching contract, we already know, I know, I thought this poem was appropriate. It's called A Teacher's Contract. Between the teachers and the city, there exists a contract full of legal obligations on both sides, pay steps, like the master's degree, I added that, duties and responsibilities, all to be negotiated. But there is a higher, more important contract that requires no lawyers, no arbitration, no picket lines. It is a contract given, not stated, ironclad and universal. It is written on the smartboard, demonstrated in the halls, surrounding student desks, and classroom walls. It is a contract automatically renewed each year, forged in love, witnessed daily. It is never up for discussion or vote. It is unchangeable, immutable. And in Newtown, the contract remains unbroken in life and death, consisting of only 2 words, my kids, written by Mel Glenn. May your hearts swell with pride when you meet your kids in your first classroom. Think about the meaning of this contract that you have with them, and this will be your inspiration for all the lives you will touch as teachers. We are all very proud of you. I wish you congratulations and all that comes along with your kids in your contract, in your first classroom and every year that follows. Dr. Francine Holtgren, Department Chair, Teaching and Learning, Policy and Leadership. We have the privilege of being in the company of an educator who has received one of the highest honors bestowed on individuals in the field of K-12 education. She teaches in one of our partner districts. In fact, it is the district that we are in right now. And her bio reads thusly. Carolyn Marsky is a 5th grade reading, writing, and social studies teacher at Ridgecrest Elementary School in Prince George's County, Maryland. She just completed her 12th year of teaching and has taught all subjects in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade at one time or another. Prior to teaching, she spent 10 years as a policy analyst, researcher, and program evaluator in the field of education and youth development. Her clients included the U.S. Department of Education, Boys and Girls Club of America, and the After School Corporation of New York. She holds a bachelor's degree in human biology, yay, biology major, from Stanford University, and a master's degree in public policy from the University of California, Berkeley. She is also the proud mother of 2 Terps. Her son graduated from the University of Maryland College Park just last month, and her daughter will be a freshman in the fall. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Carolyn Marsky.
Good evening. It is a real privilege to be here at the University of Maryland tonight to help welcome you to the most difficult, complex, important, and rewarding profession in the world. Many of you have family members here tonight, and so do I. I asked my husband to come hear my speech tonight, and he said he'd come along as long as he was allowed to give the rebuttal. By now, you know that teaching tends to be a family affair. We bring our work home, and sometimes we bring our families to work. So on behalf of my husband, before I address the new teachers in the room, I will say to their families, welcome aboard and buckle up. The new teachers in this room are going to need your support and patience in the coming years. To the degree candidates here tonight, I know many of you are embarking on your first and hopefully your only career. Others may be mid-career. And others, I believe, are career changers like myself. For those of us who did something else first, we have something to compare teaching to and can appreciate why it is so much more rewarding, but also so much harder than many other lines of work. As many of you know, this year, Prince George's County teachers and students almost lost most of spring break. Reading media coverage and editorials as this drama unfolded reminded me that it's hard for outsiders to appreciate what we do. An angry response to one editorial about why spring break is so important dragged out that time-worn phrase, those who can't do, teach. As a career changer, and therefore someone who apparently quit being a doer to become a teacher, I say to anyone who thinks teaching isn't doing, walk in our shoes for a week, or a month, or a year. If they last that long, they'd learn that teaching is doing, and doing, and doing. And then when you think you can't do any more, doing some more. They would realize that most people in the world don't have what it takes to do this work and do it well. In truth, it's almost impossible to understand from the outside. Even as an evaluator of education programs, I did not fully appreciate from the outside the skill, knowledge, intellect, emotional intelligence, and sheer artistry required to teach. Yes, I'm bragging. We are special. Our salaries will never reflect the true value of our work. No one but our family and friends will see what we do after school, in the evenings, and on the weekends to meet the needs of our students. And there will always be people who think we actually get paid to sit around all summer. But I promise you that your students and their parents will affirm the value of your work directly or indirectly on a regular basis. And when you tell people that you're a teacher, most will respond with admiration and appreciation. God bless you, they will say. I don't know how you do it. As rewarding and important as it is, by now you also know that teaching is also very challenging work. I'd like to share a few stories and pieces of advice from my experiences that I hope you will find useful in the coming years. The first relates to the very first year of teaching. I know you have received lots of advice and information about what to do in the first weeks of school, and whole books, of course, have been written about this. They're great resources with lots of time-tested ideas, but none of the books I read or the strategies I learned in my teacher preparation classes prepared me for how completely overwhelmed I would be by the sheer complexity of the work. Now, I did not get a master's degree in education like you all did when I changed careers. I already had a master's degree in another field, so I just decided on the alternative certification route, thinking that I knew what teachers did. My student teaching was limited to helping teach a 4-week summer school class of 15 students during the month of July. Then in August, I went from the paddling pool to the deep blue sea, taking a job as a 3rd grade teacher in a school dominated by English language learners who had a lot of difficulty accessing the 3rd grade curriculum as written without substantial modification and support. By Thanksgiving, I was drowning. I considered quitting. But remembered the words of a couple of veteran teachers and one teacher's mother when they learned that I was embarking on a new career as a teacher. My daughter's preschool teacher summed up her first year to me by saying, basically, I was emotionally unavailable to my family for a year. A recently retired teacher told me bluntly, honey, the first year is awful. It just is. It's that way for everyone, so please come back for a second year before you decide whether to quit. A consulting client of mine whose son had just finished his 3rd year of teaching told me her son had an upset stomach for most of the first year. At the time, I remember wishing for a little less honesty. The first Thanksgiving, though, as I contemplated whether I would be able to finish out the school year, I thought back to their words, and I realized they had given me a gift. The knowledge that others had navigated these rough waters and survived. If they could do it, so could I. I hope you have an easier than average first year. And I know you probably will be much better first-year teachers than I was, given the preparation you've received from the University of Maryland and your more extended student teaching experiences. But just in case you find yourself contemplating abandoning ship as Thanksgiving rolls around, remember that the first year was rough for most of us veterans. You're not the first, and you won't be the last new teacher to feel like they can't make it to the end of the first school year. You will make it, and the second year is much, okay, my husband is the audience, I have to be honest. The second year is better. My second piece of advice pertains not only to the first year, but to every year of teaching. Welcome feedback. Approach evaluations as opportunities to learn, and ask for and accept help in improving your practice. Not long after my Thanksgiving meltdown, 2 women came into my classroom and observed me. Their presence unnerved me, as you might imagine, but after class they introduced themselves as coaches that had been paid for by the state to help teachers in Title I schools in whatever ways might be needed. I'm pretty sure I cried as I told them, I'm a brand new teacher. I'm completely overwhelmed and I need help with everything. They visited regularly all year, teaching model lessons, helping me plan, and critiquing my lessons. At the end of the year, I learned that I was the only teacher in my building who had accepted their offer of help. I couldn't believe it. Was I the only struggling teacher in the building? They assured me that they had seen plenty of coaching needs in the building, but that many teachers found their presence threatening, thought they didn't need help, or worried that they were really spies for the principal. What a terrible shame, I thought, to waste the opportunity to brainstorm ideas and benefit from the experiences of veteran teachers. And at the same time, I wondered, what does that say about the state of teacher professional development, teacher evaluation, and the nature of relationships among teachers, coaches, and administrators? In my experience, I'm happy to say, and I've worked now for 4 very different principals and a variety of coaches, teacher evaluation and coaching experiences are as threatening or empowering as you make them. If you approach your work with the attitude that 2 sets of eyes are almost always better than 1, coaches are your allies, and evaluation becomes professional development. My third piece of advice in honor of the World Cup is a sports analogy. Keep your eye on the ball. And it's already been said quite well here, in teaching, your students are the ball. If you do your job right, you will know your students better than anyone, except perhaps their families and the teacher they had last year. Every decision you make must flow from this knowledge. This may seem obvious, but it can be hard to do in the midst of the many requirements we are asked to meet every day. I make to-do lists, and teachers' to-do lists tend to be long. Even now, 12 years into the job, after my students leave the building, I sometimes freeze up because I just don't know what to tackle first. When this happens, I ask myself, what do my students need me to be doing right now. Likewise, I still find myself worrying because I'm not where I'm supposed to be in the pacing calendar, or my anchor charts don't look like the ones in the curriculum guide. I calm myself down by asking, what do my students need me to be teaching right now? Am I doing that? If the answer is yes, then I'm okay. I know you've heard a lot about formative assessment, and for good reason. Formative assessment is critical to knowing your students and responding appropriately to their unique combination of needs at any given moment. So if my principal comes into my classroom after 10 a.m. or so, she might well see students wandering aimlessly around the room or gathered in small groups socializing. Why? Because children need brain breaks. I can see it on their faces and in their body language. And if they need to take what I call a 2-minute walk and talk in the middle of a lesson, we take one, even if the principal is in the room. Likewise, when a lesson isn't going well, and believe it or not, it happens, kids aren't getting it, I stop the lesson. I don't care if it read like the best lesson in the history of teaching. I don't care if it worked like a dream last year. I don't care if I'm in the middle of an observation. It's not working for this group of students at this time, so it's time to reassess and regroup. If we ignore what our students are showing us in an effort to comply with the letter of what's written in one of the many documents produced to guide us and hold us accountable, we have lost sight of the ball. Don't be afraid to base your teaching decisions and decisions about the professional advice you choose to accept or reject on what you know about your students as people and as learners. This leads me to my last piece of advice. Just as you must know and respond to your students as people and learners, let your students know and see you as a person and a learner. Show them not the perfect you, but the imperfect work in progress you. Laugh at yourself now and then and learn in front of them. If we want to produce lifelong learners, we have to show our students what lifelong learning looks like. If we want to empower students to take risks and aim high, we have to take risks, aim high, make mistakes, and learn from them in public. So let students know when you make a mistake. When you stop a lesson because it's not working, or if almost all students do poorly on an assignment, please tell them that when everyone else is confused or fails, it's probably at least partly, and maybe even mostly, your fault. Then watch them relax and re-engage. Similarly, let your students know when you are trying something new and you're not totally sure it's going to work. Invite them to help you make it work. This year I used book clubs to teach a novel, giving students more independence and opportunities to collaborate to try to understand what is a very complex text, especially for English language learners. It wasn't my idea. It was a new curriculum unit. And frankly, I wasn't sure that I was going to be able to make it work for them, given their diverse needs. So I told them that. I told them that I hadn't taught this book in this way before, and that I probably wouldn't do a perfect job of it. I told them it was going to be a challenging unit, and I didn't expect them to do a perfect job either. We were in this together, and we would help each other make it work. At the end of each week, as always, I asked them to assess their own and a peer's work, but this time I also asked them to assess my work. What about the routines, instructions, and assignment was helpful or worked really well for them? What was confusing, frustrating, or otherwise problematic? I learned some things from their feedback that I hadn't seen in my observations, conferences, and review of their work. And I made some changes to routines, assignments, and groupings that improved the quality of their work and their level of engagement. 10-year-olds are remarkably honest. They tell on themselves, certainly each other, we know that. And they're not afraid to hurt your feelings. But as a result of their honesty and feedback, the unit and their work exceeded my expectations. If there are 28 students in your class, and someone asks them how many learners and how many teachers are in the room, you've accomplished something important if they say 29. You've created a true learning community, one in which everyone in the room is a learner, including you. and everyone is empowered to see him or herself as a teacher. So as a reading and writing teacher, I'm all about themes and main ideas. So as I reviewed my speech, I asked myself, what's the main idea here? Hopefully you take away this simple message. Embrace your role as a learner as enthusiastically and unapologetically as you embrace your role as a teacher. Set high goals, but don't expect perfection from yourself or your students. Help them embrace and learn from mistakes by embracing and learning from your own mistakes, and by engaging your students and colleagues as partners in this process. If you do this, each lesson will be better than the last, and together you will achieve things you didn't think were possible. There's a lot of combined talent in this room. I know you could have chosen to apply your gifts and skills in any number of other possible professions. Thank you for choosing to apply them as teachers, and congratulations.
What a narrative of authenticity and tenacity and perseverance and reflection and lowering your pride enough to receive help. We really appreciate your message. So of course, we thought it necessary to also hear from our very own MCERTers, who received the nomination from the students as well as the faculty to speak today. First, we have David Lee. David will be teaching science at Montgomery County's Northwestern High School this fall. David is the faculty nominee for Outstanding Student. Is that the wrong school? Okay, I was just making sure. Northwood, thank you. Northwestern is down the street. Northwood, thank you. I can tell. You see, I'm such a teacher, I could feel it. Yes. He is the faculty nominee for Outstanding Student. To describe David Lee, one student posited, David is an incredible educator with a passion for uncovering ways to make a difference in the classroom. He is loving toward his students, but holds them to high standards. For himself, he is constantly in a state of reflection and seeking areas of improvement in his own practice. During the MCERT program, David was always helpful in dispersing information to his colleagues and supporting them in and outside the classroom. Another narrative about David constantly crafted exciting and engaging lessons despite the challenging workload. As the full-time teacher, when his mentor was on maternity leave, he rose to the challenge and didn't seem to miss a beat. More importantly than his quality of work was his dedication to the craft of teaching. He would often critically examine his work, his peers, and the readings, and push others to create the best pedagogy to support students of the 21st century. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from David Lee.
Thank you, Dr. Shockley. I honestly did not expect that kind of introduction. I thought I was like, oh, David's coming up to talk to y'all. But that's it. But can y'all hear me fine? Because there's a height difference, and I worry about that sometimes. But so yeah, throughout this speech, I'm going to be asking all these MCERTers here a bunch of different questions because, being annoying and asking a ton of questions is sort of like my MO as a science teacher. And so I want to start off by asking y'all a question. Probably something that we've heard like a million times by now. What do you do? That sort of vague questions that adults ask each other. We've graduated from, oh, what is your major, to how do you spend your labor to earn a living? So honestly, as an aside, actually, explaining what MCERT is like this weirdly frustrating process, at least for me. It's like, oh, I'm a graduate student, but I teach full-ish time. I teach 3 classes, but I'm in school all day, but I don't get paid for any of that. But I did get paid for a little bit, but it wasn't that much, to be honest. But that was when I was long-term subbing, but whatever. There was also this weird action research project that I wasn't that invested in, but I still got decently on. And so, So yeah, MCERT. That's. I'm glad that joke landed. Glad it worked. Anyway. So after I give some version of that manic explanation, people, look at me weirdly, and then they're like, okay, why do you want to be a teacher? Not in that like sort of conversational or curious way, but like, who in their right mind would like jump into this mess in this like social political climate? Honestly, just like consume any piece of media within like the past 2-3 months, and like you can just say like, we live in very interesting times, to say. The questions then continue, the questions continue. Well, David, what are you gonna do when you're done teaching? Or, David, what's your backup plan? And my personal absolute favorite, David, why are you settling for being just a teacher? Now, I love the groans. So, we've all probably heard some version of these questions, and of course, they're all very frustrating. But I kind of get where they're coming from, because like I said, we live in very interesting times. Now, I'm not gonna stand up here on my soapbox, because we're gonna be here forever, but honestly, who would wanna jump into this, like, quote unquote, mess now of all times? Well, MCERTers, look around you. I'm very bad at estimating crowds. I keep losing count of kids during fire drills. It's like 20, no, whatever. I see most of my kids, whatever, it's fine. But all I see is just a bunch of people willing to jump into this mess with me. And so, the next question that I want to ask is why? Not in that like frustrating or condescending way, but genuinely, why do you teach? Why do you teach? While I'm up here like jabbering about nothing, literally ask yourself, why do I teach? I ask this because I truly believe that we need powerful, compelling responses to this question. So that for our own, not for other people's curiosities, but for our own mental fortitude and our own like resolve when things get really tough. Because in 2 to 3 to 5 years down the road, when we're tired, when we're burnt out, and we're just ready to quit, we better have a good answer to that question. Why do I teach? Now, I can't speak for all of us. We've all probably jumped into this for a variety of different reasons. But I can very least tell you why I teach. I do it for the relationships I build with my students. Like, for example, over this past year, many of my students wanted to come to my class, not necessarily because they liked biology. In fact, they often told me that they hated it. But instead, they came for the sense of care and community that we've collectively built in our classroom. I do it for the little moments that just make my day when everything else is falling apart around me. Like, I have plenty of lessons that just completely failed, like period 1, period 2, period 3, fail, fail, fail. Nothing worked. But I made that one kid laugh in period 2 with my dumb jokes, so I guess it all works out. I do it to reach those students who would otherwise slip through the cracks. Now, I am not Superman, and I'm not gonna be able to reach every single one of those students, and that's honestly super heartbreaking. But that's also like a weird savior complex that I try to get away from, but I digress. In my mind, there's nothing more rewarding than knowing that I have made a positive impact on a student's life. Like over this past, like the end of the year, I got like some notes from students, like saying a variety of different things, but honestly, like I read some of those, I'm like, this broke me emotionally, and just like, thanks guys, it's awesome knowing that I actually did some good this year, at least, for some of my students. And finally, I do it because I love to teach, because I love this craft. I love sitting down for hours on end, just like lesson planning and writing like crappy PowerPoints and flip charts. I love those precious 45 minutes that I have with my students every single class. And I love then just sitting down and thinking, okay, what can I do to make that better? What can I do to make tomorrow better? All those pieces that I absolutely love. Now, I don't love everything about teaching. I don't love grading papers. That's very, very bad. I don't love useless meetings. Those are, It's like, why do we have to meet for an hour? Send an email. That's all we needed. I have to lesson plan. I have to write my TPA. Why do we have to meet today? I'm just like, ugh. So, but I do love this job. Yes, don't take those things at face value. Now, I offer some of the reasons why I teach and some of those experiences that help go along with that. And I wish for all these MCERTers here to do a similar type of thing. Ask yourself, why do I teach? And then think back to what you've done over this past year and use those experiences to help answer that question. Now, I'll leave you all with this one bit. I'm gonna tell you guys the same thing I tell with my kids. If you're gonna remember anything about this speech, remember this one part, okay? As you reflect on the past year, be proud of all the hard work that you put into it. 13 months, June to June, EdTPA, action research, full-time teaching. We put in so much work into this year. Absolutely be proud of that. And we came out perfectly fine, mostly. But I'd say more importantly, be proud of the work that we are about to do. When someone asks you, why do you teach? Give them compelling answers that are based on what you've done in the class. When someone asks you, what do you do? Tell them, I teach. I am a teacher, and I am proud to be a teacher. Now, they're gonna look at you like a crazy person, but that's fine. We're all a little crazy, I think. We live in interesting times, yes, but in my mind, there's no better time to become a teacher, and this helps shape our children's lives, minds, and future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. While David received the faculty nomination, the student nomination went to Brandon Johnson. Let me read a few comments about Brandon before he comes. One student wrote, Brandon is a very supportive and witty student. I have a feeling we're going to experience that. He is constantly making people laugh and giving them the advice they need. Brandon is also a talented teacher who has had great success in helping students become more interested in French. He will do great next year as a teacher, and his supportive and witty humor will be encouraging and entertaining. Another comment, I met Brandon this year in the MCERT classes. He has a unique ability to articulate, explain, and correct students and peers without being condescending. That's a gift. He has also taken the initiative with action research to spend extra time with said student to ensure my work makes sense and ensures my success. As someone who would do that for a peer they barely know, I cannot imagine the time and dedication Brandon puts in with students. Ladies and gentlemen, the French educator, Brandon Johnson.
That was very nice of all of you. Again, I'm going to also ask, can you hear me? Because I am also very tall. So, are we good? Yeah. Great. Dear fellow graduates, it is my honor to be speaking before you. For those who do not know me, my name is Brandon Johnson. I am a French teacher, the second smallest section of this program. I think it's actually really surprising that you chose me, seeing how I quite possibly reflect the least amount of you. I am Black. I'm a foreign language teacher. We don't get a lot of appreciation, but still, guys, I'm very, very honored to be in front of you. So, being given the chance to reflect on my time in this program and provide words of wisdom is a very high honor, and I decided to take this by writing to myself. I know it's selfish, but when else am I going to have a job where I'm literally required to reflect? If you find something that applies to you, take it, and good on you. A lot of speeches start with a quote, and I looked for a quote about teaching that you probably haven't heard before, but I couldn't find anything. So, in this moment, I quote myself to myself. Here's the part of my speech where I tell the graduates something they already know. And here's the part of my speech where I tell the loved ones and the parents what they paid for. I love you, Elliot. If there's one concept that I have written a paper I could teach a class about, all while juggling and spinning plates on my head, it's about culturally responsive teaching. It's important, I get it, I really do. Understanding the cultural background of our students and how they expect to be taught and how it should inform our teaching is an important lesson to learn and implement in every lesson, and that was a great lesson to learn 3 times, which is why you should never forget about differentiation, making sure that every student is able to complete a task that's set before them, whether it means challenging some students or providing extra aid to other students. No one can be left on a raft to sink or swim, but all of us shouldn't be left in the kiddie pool waiting for someone to realize the difference between diversity and differentiation, which leads me to my last point, that we need to remember to have a growth mindset, meaning that any student is capable to learn and succeed. And this concludes the educational buzzword portion of my speech. If you didn't get that, ask your graduate. If you're still applying for jobs, you're welcome. In the year of our Queen Beyoncé, Knowles Carter, who can drop an album at 5:30 on a Saturday like it just didn't happen, that children are being separated from their parents by mandate of our government, and the age in which students can get cell phones decreases by the same rate as our brain cells, you will be the one to challenge our future leaders to think critically about their lives. Who else is going to take care of you when you are old and tell their children about that really cool science teacher or that really tough Spanish teacher? You will be the first one to introduce them to truths of our known universe and question them. You will lead them to see how everything around us is connected. And remember, everyone turns 18 every single day. And I'm sure you remember what you were doing at 18. And I cannot wait for the day that I walk into a classroom and I go, everybody say, "Hey, Mr. Johnson." "Hey, Mr. Johnson." And no one will get it because it'll be old by then. And I'm sure some of you right now don't get it right now, but it's cool, it's cool. Ask your graduate again, they'll help you out with it. With this all being said, Brandon, this will be your real first terminal year from academia. You went from an undergraduate degree with your to a master's degree with a 9-month pause in the while because you graduated early from undergrad, humble brag. But never forget, your life is yours now. If it sucks, it's your fault. You have a lot of free time. Honestly, when you worked as a long-term sub, a server, and a tutor, you still found time to have fun 1 time a week. Humble brag. You can carve out the time. Don't overburden yourself. Make some you time. Say no to people. They'll get over it, and you'll be happier for it. Another point of advice, because it's 2018, and you'll probably look back on this time with fondness, you are privileged. Yes, I know, roll your eyes. It gets thrown in your face at least once a week, but once you receive that master's degree, you are not only college educated, you have a master's degree. And while I know that not everyone will see you and automatically assume, hey, look, there's that guy with a master's degree, you will be called into meetings for that sole purpose. And there will be other people in your department who have eons more experience than you. Make sure to ask them for help. You need to use your teacher skills and redirect. We've all had that day where somebody is just on one and you have to go, "Oh my God, you're so amazing. Can I tell you about what's going to happen next?" Like, seriously, speak up for other people and just keep it moving. The last thing that I want to remind you of, Brandon, is if there ever comes a time when you don't want to teach, stop. You are doing more harm than good. I pause the jokes here because you have seen, and in one case, had a mentor teacher who is about to retire or who cannot stand the job, and it does more harm to yourself and the kids. Don't do it. Teaching is hard work, requires endless amounts of hours to be completed in 10 months, and you are still expected to do more. No one will blame you for pursuing something else. If anything, people will applaud you. But this is not my way of saying to give up when things get rough. You are important, special, and incredibly kind to devote yourself to educating others. The simple fact that you spent so much time preparing yourself to do it is proof alone. Go forth knowing you're pretty awesome. With this, I leave you with a few words. I don't know if I'll ever have the opportunity to speak in front of people again. So here's a list of my favorite cliche graduation lines. 1, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. 2, live, laugh, love. 3, you have to look through the rain to see the rainbow. 4, yesterday is a history, today is a mystery, tomorrow is a gift, and that is why today is called the present. 5, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you will land among the stars. 6, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. 7, spread your wings and fly. Celebrate tonight. Go Team Asia. Bruno, you are the best person that I know. Good night.
Okay. All right, so thank you, Brandon. Brandon will be teaching middle school French in Montgomery County Public Schools in the fall. All right. So now we will go to the part of the program where individuals will be recognized for completion of MCERT. This year, our very own Catherine McCall, who is a former MCERTer, will present the names. Catherine is a member of a special group of people who I cannot do my job without, our PDS coordinators and our content area directors and our MCERT faculty, that is everybody on the stage. And of course, the assistant dean who is behind me, who you've met. Cannot do my job without. Did I say that? I hope so. Awesome. She represents social studies education as the co-coordinator, and we will now distribute the certificates.
All right, my friends, so what'll happen is I'll call your certification area, you'll gather up over there, and then I'll call you one by one. I'll hopefully pronounce your name correctly. You'll slide across. Somebody who loves you will give you your certificate. Ebony Shockley will give you something sneaky. And that's that. Folks who are not here might be watching on live stream. So what we'll do is at the end, we'll read off the names of everybody who wasn't here so that if they're watching on live stream, they can clap for themselves and cheer. Okay? All right. Excellent. So, my friends, we will begin with art education, and their certificates will be presented by Dr. Susan Hendricks. Talia Cohen. And then Talia, slide on behind me. Awesome. Laura Petito. All right, ladies and gentlemen, art education. Computer science education. Certificate being presented by Dr. Dan Levin. Elias Gonzalez. Ladies and gentlemen, computer science education.
It's a budding, emerging program.
Dance education. Your certificates will be presented by Crystal Davis. Eva Cristina Gonzalez. Katie Narid. Dance education. Elementary education. Certificates and sneaky gifts presented by Dr. Ebony Terrell-Shockley. Elizabeth Oust. Samantha Brown. Andrea Falcon. Claire Fields. Elizabeth Yanazelli. Sarah Fons. Alexandra Rotello. Catherine St. George. Ryan Toland. And one more round of applause for our future elementary school teachers. English education. Certificates will be presented by Dr. Peggy Wilson. Casey DeFrancesco. Melissa Godfrey. Lily Gomez. Musfika Hossein. Lylan Miller. Tram Win. Jessica Suss. All right, ladies and gentlemen, English education. Mathematics education, secondary mathematics education. Your certificates will be presented by Diana Bowen. Julia Estrada Luyo. Carolyn Lane. Caitlin Nave. Jordan Weisberg. Angel Yee. All right, one more round of applause for our future math teachers. Next is our middle school math and science education program. Certificates presented by Dr. Dan Levin and Diana Bowen. Aisha Bari. Caitlin Evans. Yvonne Gelbard. Naya Henson. Aaron Mead. All right, now everybody remember what you were like in middle school and give a shout out to our middle school education graduates. Physical education.
Hold on. Do you want to come up? Dr. Hatfield, do you want to come up? Dr. Hatfield, would you like to come up? You're okay. You're fine. Okay. No, he's fine. I didn't want to leave him out. Okay.
Certificates are being presented by Cara Grant and
Dr. Brad Hatfield.
Lindsay Abdenor. Danielle Carter. Andrew Kennedy. Michael Lyons. Benjamin Monty. Alexander Muick.
Thank you very much.
Bailey Philbin. Allison Schiffman. Bruno Tijo. Ladies and gentlemen, our physical education graduates.
Thanks, Dr. Hatfield.
Science education. Certificates will be presented by Trinae Johnson and Alex Chumbley. Sean Barker. Sean Dennis. Dane Grossnickel. Beth Jewell. Gavin Kramer. David Lee. John Lee.
Thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, science education. Social studies education. All right, so your certificates will be handed out by Dr. Shockley, but your hugs will be provided by me. Heidi Albrecht. Gabriella DiGiorgio. Nicholas Loskamp. Katerina Piscini. Eric Walsh.
Catherine, you doll, I'll miss you.
All right, social studies, education. TESOL, education. Dr. Shockley will be presenting your certificates. I can hug you too if you'd like. All right, Clara Alsup. Christina Wade Fitzpatrick. Oh, and apparently Saroja is offering hugs as well. Sorry, that's late notice for the rest of you.
22 of these guys for a whole year.
All right. Hugs for Saroja afterwards. And we should also let you all know that Saroja is also an MCERT grad.
Also an MCERT grad.
All right, so give it up for TESOL education. All right, and certainly not least, world languages education. Dr. Hendricks will be presenting your certificates. Xiaolin Huang. Brandon Johnson. Xuanwu Peng. All right, ladies and gentlemen, world languages education. All right, so for our live streamers at home, they don't each get their own applause. We'll wait and applaud this crowd collectively. But if you're watching at home, shout out for Jamie Amato, Jack Hebner, Shane James, Sean L. Perry, Gunnar Tilley, Lillian Muir, and Ann No.
And we will reserve a few minutes at the end so that Dr. Saroja Warner can receive every single hug that she was on.
It takes a village.
Thank you, Dr. Warner. I'd like to call up David Lee. David Lee.
This was not part of the schedule.
He's telling me it's not a part of the schedule. I made the schedule. It is a part of the schedule. He just didn't know. So Also, I just want to thank David once again. He received such positive accolades from the individuals who nominated him, and I like secrets, a secret for him as well. It's a little larger. Here you go. Thank you so much, and congratulations again. Brandon Johnson. They're both in first place. Similarly, Brandon Johnson also received positive accolades from his peers as well as faculty, and so I just love to give gifts. He's also going to win a secret. Miss Carolyn Marsky.
I love it. That's promising.
Here we go. Sorry, I had to get that. Carolyn Marsky, as you heard her presentation, she has all of the skills that we, I think, should aspire to in education. I am honored that she joined us on her summer break. And so, for her, I also have a gift, and because her husband is here and he's an alum, I have a secret pen. Not the same one for you as I gave you, but a different one. So one for her husband. Thank you. There's another student who actually is not expecting to receive accolades today, but this student met every month with faculty and represented MCERT. The student gave insight, provided the student perspective, would leave her internship monthly to join the what we call TELREC committee, which is our Teacher and Leadership Education Committee. Naya Henson, come on up. She also received citations from our communications department because of her work in the National Council for Teachers of Mathematics, and so we are extremely proud of her. You're welcome. All right. So this next person, I actually have something for her I'm not going to present it here, but I would like for every person to please recognize this outstanding staff member who supports the Master Certification Program around the clock and nonstop. Please, K Moon, stand up so we can see you. And she should check her email for her prize, because your email, I sent it to you. It is a gift card. It's nice. So, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to meet the family and friends who have come from far and wide to join us today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work with all of these amazing, bright, talented, skilled students who have such a long trajectory in education, we hope. I appreciate that you chose the MCERT program, that you remained in the program. From the application process, to the info sessions, to the orientations, to the coursework, including methods, action research, seminar, to the field experiences, adolescent development, continuing reading. You get it, right? Your portfolios and capstone. Now you are here ready to teach the next generation. And in doing so, you join a large group, like the individuals on this stage, of movers and shakers, game changers, and lifesavers. The faculty and staff of the MCERT program wholeheartedly appreciate your dedication, your tenacity, and your willingness to collaborate with others of us who have opted for education on this journey. Together, we will make a difference, one student at a time. Congratulations. And now we have come to the end of our program. Let us all eat cake. Thank you, everybody, so much. So much.
I have the PE people and Dr. Hatfield, and you come over here for a picture.
Okay. Physical education. Miss Grant wants you over here. Physical education, she wants a group picture. I'm sure everybody wants group pictures. I'm just the messenger.